Official. We're in business, guys. All right. Here's what we do it at, baby. Cooperative economics. What's happening, everybody? This is DJ the Money Coach coming to you live January 17th, 2024. And history has already been recorded. That's right. We just opened up a 220-unit luxury residential resort in Zanzibar. We also are completing 4 luxury townhouses in Zanzibar. And we're also going to open up the Pom Pom Lifestyle Resort in Zanzibar. It's Africans for Africans, supported by Black Americans unapologetically. So what time is it? The Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement can't be stopped. Hit the link. Join us on the Beaches World in Zanzibar. Home is ours. Peace.
All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Family Finance Friday with DJ the Money Coach. And this show was brought to you by the DJ the Money Coach team in the 7 spheres of money systems. And before we get started, like the video on your way in, share it with at least 5 people, and subscribe to DJ the Money Coach right here on YouTube if you're not already subscribed, so you can help us spread the message, spread the good news of the Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement, which is plenty of money, peace of mind, and we invite you to come join us on the beaches of the World Club each and every Friday right here. So, TGIF, like we always say, let's go to tonight's beach. So happy Friday, DJ.
What's happening, Nick? Everything's great, my friend. Like we always say, any day above ground with your health is an amazing day. And today is definitely that day. The sun is shining. It's nice and warm out. It is the last day of May. May has been a very miraculous and a very, melodious month. So it's always exciting. And like you said, it's the unofficial start of summer. Everybody's out except for you guys in the Northeast, but everybody down here across the board, elementary schools, high schools, colleges, all out. So we got all that work done. So we're going to make this a quick, short, concise show. And I was just, thinking, reminiscing about how this all began and what are some things that we need to do better on these platforms in terms of authenticity, listening to the people and giving them what they want. And that's one of the most important things, because sometimes you get off in a direction that totally derails you versus staying to the nucleus and the fundamentals. So as I remember when we put these programs together, we had a basic outline that we were going to put on certain type of content and provide to certain types of groups, which was all inclusive, meaning from a generational inclusivity. And as I was thinking about that, Nick, I was going back because we're taking on this agency that's going to help us lean in more and broaden our net in terms of the appeal that we have. And as I thought about that, we're going back through some shows from the very beginning, and I thought about it, I said, man, you know what? The thing that makes us unique, makes us, the niche that we have, is that we have people that get along in 4 to 5 different generation groups, meaning that we pride ourselves on having 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and 60-year-olds that all come together and work together. And in today's society, ageism generally prevents us from connecting with younger people. We generally don't have anything in common, but the great thing about our platform is that most of our members are from teenagers to 60-year-olds, and they all get along. And it's represented extremely well in the trips that we've taken to Zanzibar, where we literally have had 20 somethings, 30 somethings, 40 somethings, 50 somethings, 60 something, and even some 70 somethings that actually have gone on trips with us. And most importantly, Nick, authentically got along with each other. And I mean, socially, partying, principles, family, friends, where it wasn't, awkward to hang out with each other, where we just got along. Good people attract good people, So that, to me, I said, you know what? We've got to get back to that, because that's one of the things that we're getting away from in this society, is that we're allowing the young generation that don't really understand what godly principles are, and they're bringing another message, because these people some of them are hurt, and hurt people. A lot of them are insecure, and they do things just to try to get along, to belong, and it gets in trouble. And back in the day, we would positively hold people accountable, and in essence, we would in a nice way, we would shame them to say, hey man, you ought to have a higher standard for yourself. And this is what I mean by this, is that if you grew up in the hood, your family ultimate goal was to be middle class. And if you were fortunate to become upper class and elite, man, that was icing on the cake. But everybody had the desire to have that American dream. And you would actually dress up to actually fit in with what was, the dream that we were all, sold in America. And nowadays, it's the complete opposite. You'll have people come from the hood that make a lot of money, and they'll magnify that hoodism. And conversely, you have people who were born with silver spoons in their mouth, and they act like they're from the hood. And now that's becoming acceptable. So how do we reel that in and get back to, these principles, dignity, decorum? How do we do that? We bring elders together with young people, middle age, teenagers, 30-somethings, millennials, Gen Z, and we come together and we say, hey, here's some common core principles that are universal, that have nothing to do with race, creed, color, ethnicity, that we can all agree, this is what I would want my neighbor next door to be like, and this is what I would like to be like as a neighbor, where we can come out into the community and all get along and all have accountability. Where, when I grew up, it was not unimaginable that my neighbor could discipline me. It was not unimaginable that my coach could discipline me. My teacher, IEU, could discipline me. But now you've got it where teachers are going on TikTok and having young girls braid their hair and unbraid their hair, and they don't see a problem with that. And the other sad part is, as it pertains to our community, it's almost like nobody in our community want to call somebody in our community wrong, degenerates, however, because, oh man, you can't come down on them. But anytime something happens, they quick to call the victim card and everything else. And I'm like, man, when are we going to stand up and be accountable? Just because you got the same skin tone, complexion, ethnicity as I have, you can't do any wrong. And that is prevalent throughout our society, and we are literally rotting from inside. And the way to prevent that, ladies and gentlemen, is to get back to the basics. So what we're going to do, we're going to, number one, we're going to ask you, the audience, what are some topics that you would like us to talk about that are based on principles, godly principles, moral principles, and just common decency principles that you would like to hear more about in depth, and most importantly, have multiple people come together and talk about it. So when we first put these programs together, our first official show was Nick's Knowledge and Notions, where you, being a supreme educator, a great historian, we would come and talk about great things. Then we would talk about, the stars, and we would talk about numerology. We would talk about things that were important to us, and we got away from that. And we got away from that because, unfortunately, we started pursuing the dollar more than we should have versus pursuing purpose. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to focus and we're going to double down on our purpose with a plan and be productive. Because I was doing some consulting calls with some small business owners, which is I do a lot of, and a couple of small business owners like, hey, you know what, DJ, what are some other hustles side that I can do to make some more money? And then I said, you know what? I could tell you a whole bunch of hustles that are faddish, even trending, but are not going to get you what you need to have, because you will bounce from one industry to another to make the quick buck. So it's not sustainable, and it's not going to do anything for you long term. You may make some quick bucks, but you're going to always be chasing another hustle because it's not your purpose. And so I sat back, I said, hey, you know what you ought to do? You ought to lean into your hedgehog concept. You ought to lean into what you're passionate about. You ought to lean into what you have great skills about. And you ought to lean into your system to make your foundation right, because in these times right now, as anybody would know, as it pertains to Family Finance Friday, when economies contract and get smaller and inflation and taxation all keeps going up and utilities go up and all that, if you have done the things right on purpose with a plan, you actually become more productive. What do I mean by that? If you live underneath your means, you're going to better take the corrections in the marketplace, because even though you may make $150,000 a year, you're probably living at 75, 80. So when the insurance bill comes in and it goes up by 30% across the board, or the electricity bill comes in and it goes up across the board by 30, 40%, because they're not scaling back, they're piling on. You don't have to stress to figure out how to pay those bills. But if you're making $150,000 a year and you're driving a $90,000 car and you're financing it, you're greedy. I want you to let that seep in. If you right now, the commencement of, unofficially summer, because summer really doesn't start until June 21st, you're taking vacations and you're putting them on credit cards and you're not playing the bonus points and all that. You're literally making these payments way into 2-3 years for that vacation. You're greedy. But if nobody told you or set you down like an elder and say, hey, you might want to put some of that away for a rainy day. You might want to put some of that away when the market changes and that funnel is not going to be full all the time, because you know what? Nobody's listening to CDs anymore. So you could have made millions of dollars in the CD industry, and the DVD, the Blu-ray, and the MP3 just put you out of business because you couldn't see it coming. But again, if you don't have reverence for somebody older that you would actually listen to, because we're not listening to older people because it's a relatability standpoint. Man, I'm not listening to that old outdated music. I want to listen to all this crazy stuff and this degradation and this objectifying of women and this alternative lifestyle, because I see it and I hear it, and in an ordinary amount of times I think it's normal. But if you had the chance to sit down once a week and you're in your 20s and you did come from a broken home, but we know underneath all that bravado, underneath them fake eyelashes and them fake fingernails, you're just crying out for help. But unfortunately, you're concerned about being judged, so you automatically put up a wall from the next generation because you don't know no better. And I'll give you a great example. The young lady, Sha'Carri Richardson, the track runner, who was just off the rails like 18 months ago, saying all kind of crazy stuff, and got out here and just made an a-hole of herself. But now, look at her today. She's gone within, come from a broken home, no father in her life, but through all that bad decisions, because who was around her, she was, counseling herself or allowing some social environment be her indirect counselor. So she just got out here and just got crazy. And I'm not picking on her. I just saw her run a race. She done extremely well. She scaled back, became a lot more conservative. And guess what? She's kicking everybody's butt now on the track. But sometimes we got to fall into the abyss in order for us to come back and, rise like the phoenix. But sometimes, and mostly, people don't recover from that, Nick. They said in 2023, we had the most suicides ever in the history of America. And here's what a great indicator of that is. And this is what you say in our community. We don't commit suicide. We're not serial murderers. But you know what? Our community is right at the top in those statistics now. But imagine if you had a program that was the 5G or the 4G program, meaning generations and multi-generations. So like we had done, ladies and gentlemen, once we created Nick's Knowledge and Notions, which is a phenomenal show, because I went back, because as we were going through this analysis of our business, which we do analysis on people financially. So now we're paying some experts, Nick, that are analyzing our content, our purpose, our plan, and our productivity. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We miss the mark a lot too, but we just do it so much, you really can't tell we missed the mark. So as the two professionals who've been doing this on a B2B level, I'm not talking about, again, about non-professionals. Just because you make $1 million on social media don't mean you're a professional. That's no different than a cat out there swinging on the pole, making millions of dollars. Don't make them somebody I want to come down at my house and talk to my children. But when you do deal with the professionals and they say, hey, we're going to take inventory, we're going to analyze all the things you're doing, good, bad, and different, and you're going to give us your permission to give you sound, expert advice and tell you which direction to go, because they got a proven track record. They're dealing with the top podcasters on the planet, have relationships with, you name them, they have them. So as I started going back, Nick, and I started looking at some of our original shows, I was like, dude, this here was gold. So I'm looking at the interviews that you would do, the interviews that we would do, the show that you and Astoria would do. And then I'm looking at, Bet on Black. the men, the family. And then I'm looking every week, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we had a 20-something-year-old, a 30-something-year-old, a 40-something-year-old, a 50-something-year-old, all talking from different age groups, but all adhering to the same universal principles that we all can learn from in every aspect of relations. And if you think about it, if the first time you fell in love, high school, elementary school, maybe it was college, but that first time your heart was broken from that love, you could go one or two ways. One, if you're broken heart as a guy by the gal, and it could be the other way around, the guy broke the gal's heart. Typically, hurt people. So I'll just tell you. So I remember. First girl I was, just nose wide open, jump off the cliff, and she told me to jump off the cliff, which is very rare for me. I was a sophomore in high school. Went to a private high school, all boys. She went to all girls high school, and occasionally we would have events. So that's how you get to meet them, or they would come out to the games, sister school, they would call it. So I meet this girl and get introduced to her about my partner who knew her friend. You know how it works. So, man, this girl, she's fine. She's popular. And she, gave me some favor. And so, start dating her. I would go over and see her at her parents' house. They would be there, everything. And it would always be, this is so funny. And I'll show you how this matters. So she would tell me, don't come by our house without calling, which was respectable. Don't call off this certain time. But then she would tell me, hey, I'm not available these times. And I thought, I was like, that's kind of strange. It was like, the normal times when people would talk, but hey, don't surprise me, was her deal. So I had a best friend at the time. His name was Maurice. And I had an uncle who was a ladies' man. So I'm bragging about how this girl, she's the hottest thing on, man, since Jane Kennedy, which I'm dating myself. If you know who Jane Kennedy is, she used to be amazing, black sportscaster that everybody loved, right? So I'm dating this young lady. Well, at least I think I'm dating her, Nick, for about 3 months. And it gets towards the summer. School is just about to let out. And so my homeboy, he was like, yeah, man, it's kind of strange, man. You only go see her during these times, but you don't see her on the weekend. You don't, when we out at the visit, we go socialize, you don't get to see the girl. And it would always be like, oh, you can come by at like 3 o'clock and you got to leave at 4 o'clock. And he was like, man, that's kind of strange, bro. I was like, I don't see nothing strange with it. He said, well, man, we ought to just roll through there. You know what's about to happen, bro. So we rolled through. And funny, it's a Friday. It's amazing how this just comes out. It's a Friday. We rolled through. It's about 5 o'clock. Knock on the door. Her brother comes to the door. He's like, hey, man, what are you doing here? I'm coming to see your sister. You know who I am. He's like, man, dude, you didn't call. And this is not the time because it's weekend. I'm like, no, man. Me and my boy, we here. I want to introduce him. He said, no, man, you she's not here. I said, I know she's here because I see her vehicle. No, she's not here, bro. And we good. I said, okay. I said, so she's not. So now I got egg on my face because my boy with me, right? So walk down the porch, and my boy's like, dude, it's something shaky about this, dog. Something shaky. We know what school she goes to. We know most of her friends. That looks like her car out there. Her brother is like cracking the door, like very cracking open. So we walk down the street and we stay, and I go to the payphone. There's no cell phones back then, ladies and gentlemen. We go to the payphone. We call the payphone, and she mistakenly answers the phone. So I'm like, "So you at home?" I just stepped. I said, oh, "Okay, you just stepped in, so I was just at your house. I'm gonna come to." "Oh no, this wouldn't be a good time." So long story short, hang up the phone. My boy's like, "Hey man, let's just wait over here and let's see if she comes out the house." Sure enough, she comes out the house. She's not by herself, ladies and gentlemen. She's with another dude. Now, how does that tie into generational relationships? Well, needless to say, I was devastated. She played me like a straight fool. Real talk. Because, yeah, I was doing that, buying her candy and all this silly stuff, that a 14, 15-year-old would do. And this girl just broke my heart in front of my homeboy, right? So guess what? I did not have somebody. My uncle, like I said, was a ladies' man. So he was like, dude, whatever. So my uncle's advice was, hey, man, get another honey. Matter of fact, get multiples. And you'll never have to worry about that. That was the ear that I had to listen to. So guess what I did? I now went from the good old, boy next door, respectable, and all that good stuff to the complete opposite. I started dogging out girls. And I don't mean like they do in today, but just being, very short with them, being very, abrasive and very non-approachable, and just, hey, you're going to do this. And it's so funny. Here's the irony of it. Those same type of girls start treating me better and giving me all the stuff that I wanted, even though that was bad. Now, I should have had on the other end somebody say, hey, you know what? Unfortunately, these things happen. Hey, man, don't hold it accountable for the next person. You understand what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? I know you can feel me. So if I had that person, I wouldn't have went off on this tangent for about 18 months and just being, an a-hole to young ladies. And I wasn't disrespectful, but I just aspired to be the player just like my uncle was. So how does that tie in? That means like today I was hurt, deeply hurt. So he was like, hey man, whatever, man. She's not important. Go grab you a whole bunch of them. That's not right. But if I'd had on the flip side, somebody that told me, hey, this is the way it goes, this is how you overcome it. And how does that come forward? Real simple. So, of course, we fast forward about 40 years. And now, having been in those situations, experienced, recovered from that, got my act back together, got solid and treated, young ladies with the respect and the dignity that they deserve and be, a chivalrous person. I've had multiple opportunities to talk to young men, not only my sons, but young men in their 20s, young men in their 30s, young men in their 40s that have had similar situations or have gone through, divorces and stuff like that, and give them good, solid, good advice. Not, hey, you're hurt. Let's go hurt some more folks. And the same thing on the other side of that coin, the ladies can have those conversations that, hey, you know what? Being taken out to the Cheesecake Factory or Dave and Buster's, that's a great date. Not this, oh, I got to have you give me $1,000 a month to pay for all this stuff. In essence, what you're basically saying is you don't realize this, you're prostituting yourself. But who's holding you accountable to tell you that even if some guy's giving you money, that's not right, because that guy has no respect for you. You are just an object to him. But if you have the ability to sit around with 2, 3 women who got their stuff together, you 20, You got some women in their 30s, some women in their 40s, some women in their 50s, and they can collectively tell you a good way to handle yourself with character, dignity, and decorum, especially if you happen to come from a broken home. And on the flip side of that, if you come from a good two-parent household, another thing that those temptations are out here. You can have people that can insulate you and say, hey, you're going over here and you see a guy that's sharp, got everything together, and you're single and you're a successful professional, but this guy has already got somebody. This guy is married, got children, and you see that as attractive because you want that same security. So you're thinking, hey, if he's talking to me, there's nothing wrong with that, but you know the signs of flirting that crosses the line. You got somebody around, you say, hey, that ain't cool. Let's not get caught up in that, because guess what? Satan's already winning. So when we created that Bet on Black, the women, the family, and the legacy, you had women that were coming from different perspectives, that high character, high-end professionals. And in today's society, one of the biggest challenges is that nowadays women are making more money than men, and some women are putting down men who are hardworking men. It's nothing wrong with a guy being a carpenter. It's nothing wrong with a guy being an electrician. They make good money. Or it's nothing wrong with a guy being an entrepreneur and he's starting to make his way. And if you happen to be a lawyer, a doctor, a business executive, and you, for a moment, invest in you all to help him pursue his dream, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, if let's say you met him and he was doing extremely well and he was able to provide, pastor, and protect you, and then all of a sudden industry changed and he didn't have the resources to do that, you have no problem with taking up that part, because it's a collective unit. It's us, we, our. So those conversations from elders and great counsel could prevent you from losing your dignity, your respect, and your respect for your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse. But in today's society, we've gotten away from that. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back and tackle those topics. And we're going to bring back the women. We're going to bring back the gentlemen. We're going to bring back the financial education piece and talk more to the children and talk to them about building their financial blocks early, just like we have people pursuing them from every aspect of the negative aspect of this world. We need to reinforce the positive and make it cool to hang around with multi-generational communities so we can all get along, because again, it takes a community to raise a successful man or woman. And so as I was going through and looking at all this stuff and looking at these great shows that we shot, I was like, man, we need to get back to this. And how do we get back to this? We pivot, we ask the audience, hey, what are some things you would like to see? And then the other thing that I liked as well, Nick, is the Financial Expert Series with DJ the Money Coach, because I'm a serial entrepreneur, and what better way to help people on Family Finance Friday is to continue to bring very sharp, successful entrepreneurs, women, men, teenagers, millennials, Z, X, Y, and interview them. And most importantly, in today's economy, have them talk about the stuff that they made mistakes at, that they will overcome. Because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, when things go tough, you tend to think that you're the only one ever having that experience. And then Satan doubles down and makes you think you don't have any other options, and it's over. It's a wrap. But if you have a chance to see a successful entrepreneur tell you about their low points and how they will overcome it, and actually it was just an opportunity in disguise to multiply into a better person, that's going to benefit you. And when you have purpose, you have a plan, and you're productive, you will make money. And the great thing about it, you will make so much money, you won't even be able to spend it all. So what we're going to do, starting in June, we're going to come back. We're going to roll out Financial Expert Series with DJ the Money Coach. We're going to roll out Bet on Black, 4G, 4 generations, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And we're going to have good conversations, and we're going to ask you, the audience, to give us a topic in advance that we can talk about, and we're going to welcome you to be part of the conversation. And we're going to do that for the men and the women. And then once a month, we're going to roll out our special shows and get back to letting Nick talk to us about what he's excited about, and get back in once a month talking about education for the youth, and talking about the challenges that we have in raising our children, be it, 11-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 20-year-olds, because we all go through these challenges, and we all need to get somebody that can give us, navigational tools, give us, wise, advice when we want it, to help us get to the next level, or just to maintain the tranquility in our homes, that we don't get out here and be out on these streets doing silly stuff. And then we can always go to Zanzibar, and we can always enjoy plenty of money and peace of mind, but we got to get back to doing those things of quality. Not that we weren't doing quality things, which we always do, but we lost a little bit of our focus on what we were really here for. And we're here for community. And we're here for everybody working together, because when you have people that can relate to people in every aspect of life, from creeds, ethnicities, and ageism, you have a better world to live in. And we can't allow the narrative to be pushed down our throats by the elitist and the leftists, who really are all about not being under the cord with God. They're all about greed and power. And you, to them, are nothing but a pawn. But if you don't have a safe environment to go to and be authentic and be transparent, and you haven't had the foundation in your household, we're going to be that safe zone for you. And the saying is this, and we're going to go to the break. The only way evil persists is for good men or women to stand by and do nothing. And if that's not indicative of the world we live in today, that we're so afraid to say anything, if we're afraid of being canceled, or if we're afraid of being harmed, thus the enemy is just putting everything right in front of us with so much boldness that it's just unacceptable anymore. It's really unacceptable. And somebody got to stand up. Somebody got to be authentic. And somebody got to show real love. Because that's important. And that right now could eliminate all this chaos and this uncertainty in our communities, because the enemy wants you to hate the other man, hate the other woman. And the enemy wants you to embrace an alternative lifestyle that has no fruit on the tree. Let's just keep it real. What you do in the privacy of your home is your business. I don't need my 11-year-old to be taught that in school. And what do I mean by that? I just saw the most repulsive thing, Nick. Dwayne Wade, who played for the Heat, who from Chicago, he's coming out with this platform with his son, who he's calling his daughter, And it just is repulsive, is reprobate, and is degenerate, but they making it sound like, dude, going to Sunday school. Look it up. I thought I would never see the day this stuff, and it was all polished and very, dude, it was old Disney-like and angelic looking. If you didn't know no better, you thought this was acceptable behavior. And they're going to be selling this to kids. I'm not even going to mention the word, but y'all can just Google it. Just Google it. They are purposely, ladies and gentlemen, going after your children. And we're talking about they're going after 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds trying to sell you a fugazi. And this fugazi is unfortunate because these children don't know no better, and the parents are embracing this garbage. But if you just sit by and don't do anything, guess what? It's going to sweep right through and it's going to pull you up. And here's the thing that you got to be careful about is that we never worry about things because it ain't knocking on our door. They come a knocking. And when they come knock, if you ain't stand up, don't be surprised when there's nobody to fight for you. So you're watching Family Finance Friday, the last Friday of May, which has been miraculous. And we're going to pivot because we really believe in the rhino running headstrong into negative opposition because this is God's house. And your rights are given to you, inalienable rights by God, not by the government, not by the leftists, not by the alternatives. And you have the right, freedom of speech. And I thought it was so ironic, Nick, too, because I will talk about my man Kyrie Irving, is that all of a sudden, because Kyrie Irving is killing it in basketball again, all of a sudden these people who are out there lambasting Kyrie about he didn't want to take the vaccination. And all he did was tweet, hey, man, y'all might want to check this Hebrews to Negroes out. A tweet. And what did they do? They sent people that look like him out to actually crucify this guy. And now that evidence is shown that Fauci, the government, the CDC is all telling you that these vaccinations were bad like they were. And all the white papers are coming out and tell you all these people who are healthy that are dying and died. And now it's changed. He's been, what's the word? Is it, help me out. Is it what's the word? Exonerated. Is that the word? He's been exonerated.
Yeah.
But they're not apologizing to him, or most importantly, to us. And let me tell you what I mean by this. And again, this is where the community and the intergenerational relationships are so important, because you literally had on these platforms, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm gonna call these people out. Stephen A. Smith came out baking Kyrie, said you ought to retire because you won't get the vaccination. Michael Wilbon, he come out, oh, you're not a team. Now, here's the problem with this, ladies and gentlemen. And this is why we also have another series called Medical Mondays. Any one of those cats, medical doctors, and what any one of those cats, medical doctors in the field of that science particular, but they didn't hesitate, ladies and gentlemen, to come out on this platform and persecute this young man. Charles Barkley, Shaq, government officials. And they were doing it across the board to a lot of people. And you know what? All we did, most of you, you know who I'm talking to, you sat back and you stayed quiet. But now all the hard evidence is coming out. proving that this man, he invoked his First Amendment, freedom of speech. He stood up for himself, lost millions of dollars, $100 million contract, cut in a third, shoe deal worth 7-8 figures. But he stood up instead of living on his knees. And now he's been exonerated because he had the strength to stand up as one while everybody else was coming at him because they wanted you to increase Big Pharma's footprint in America. But imagine if we had been doing our Bet on Black women show, our Bet on Black men show, to have us talking about our point of view on this stuff, our Medical Mondays, and having our physicians come in and our other experts talking about the breakdown of these chemicals and why is it that you take the vaccination and if something happened to you or you died, you can't sue the big pharma company. That's almost the same that you can't bankruptcy out of a student loan. These certain things you should be like, it's so great for me. Why are they getting a pass? So these are the things that we're going to start breaking down and understand the importance of that because it's important. And how do we stave off these record numbers of suicides, serial killings, violence, the theft, where kids are just driving up, getting out of their car, going into Apple stores and stuff and just grabbing all this stuff and no fear of any persecution. Because that person ought to just be snatched up. And the person that's snatched up should not have to worry about them getting in trouble. But nowadays, hey, man, I got to be careful. The person doing the right thing, preventing the person from doing the wrong thing is the one that goes to jail. And it's so important right now, ladies and gentlemen. You got an election coming up. And I always say this, the national election is not important as your local election. So here's what we ask you to do. Send in your topics that you want us to talk about, and we'll tie it in how it relates to money. We'll tie everything in how it relates to money. And I'll give you an example. And we're going to go to the break, Nick, so get the spot ready. And I know I said this before. I'm almost like a Baptist preacher right now. They always closing. So let me show you how this relates, okay? So my son graduated from high school. Shout out. I think I said congratulations to him last week. But he's starting his college program, which starts on Monday. Because he's got a scholarship and he has to go to this program and it's a stipend. So we had a couple of options because we have resources, get him a car, take, certain types of transportation. And so since this is far away from our home, but it's in the same town, but it's in the downtown area, which is about an hour away, initially, oh man, I'm going to drive. But I said, hey, no, we're not going to drive. But not only did I say nay, I said, well, you know what? Let me talk to somebody who has been in a similar situation and give them permission to give me what I need to know, not what I want to hear. So my guy, Eric, he says, hey, man, it's more efficient to do the park and ride because professionals do that. And I said, you know what? You're right. They drive to a little spot, be it at the mall or at a little center, and a shuttle comes up. They pay a couple of dollars. Boom. Take them right down there. So 3 things transpire for that way. 1, the risk of getting hurt as a new driver goes down to zero. The cost of, the gas and the insurance and all that goes down to nil. Okay. And then you get to take some ownership and accountability for not being privileged, because he is privileged. So we do the research, check the different routes, say, okay, cool. We navigated, and today we did a practice run. He did his research. He found the right shuttle. Hey, Dad, it's going to pick up over here. I get up, boom, take him over to the shuttle. The same time he would start school, we get out there at 7:15 a.m. The shuttle rolls up. Professionals getting on the shuttle. He gets on. He goes down. Boom. He's there. Instead of turning around coming back and say, hey, no, stay down there the whole day. Go to the campus. I know ain't nothing going on, but go feel your way around and everything and get the same shuttle that you would come back on Monday. He does that. Great experience. Why is that important, ladies and gentlemen? Because guess what? If I drive down or I let him drive down, that's going to be like $20. Plus, two of us taking our time to go down, come back, go get them. So that's 3-4 hours of my day as well. And now the risk. And guess what? Torrential rain was coming down this morning. Very dangerous, even for an experienced driver. All that was eliminated, Nick. And then we figured out, man, we could get some discounts. He enjoyed the ability to sit back and handle his business on the bus, nothing but professionals. It all worked out. But here's the moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen. I got around people who already had the experience, and I asked them, and they gave me a better way, and we took that pathway. So we eliminated all the nuances, the nuisance, and we became more effective and efficient. And so now on Monday, boom, he already knows the route. He's going to get in, hop in, handle his business. And he was also able to go down there, talk to a couple of the professors in advance, build some relationship in advance. All works out well, ladies and gentlemen. So I talked to, a guy that not only took the parking ride, but he also was the head of a development part of the city, utilities and stuff. So he knew everything. So imagine if we put people on this platform, Nick, and somebody's thinking about neurology. Somebody's thinking about anthropology. Somebody's thinking about crypto. Somebody's thinking about, commercial real estate. Somebody's thinking about, hey, I'm having a midlife crisis, and what do I do at this phase of my life when it's cut off? Like the athlete that played and never did anything for life and making money, but now the career is over and now confidence has gone down. What if we bring professional athletes on to talk about the transition in life? What if we talk to young kids that may not have any desired alternative, but they just confused, and you say, hey, bop, 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 bop. What if you can teach them about what are some of the indicators that somebody's trying to groom you or, prey on you? Single parent. How does a single parent child grow up to be successful? Might be able to talk to that. How do you have the ability to go from, one family to the Brady Bunch? These are the things that a lot of times we're not, quick to talk about, but we used to handle all that stuff back in the day. How about we get back to it? So with that said, you're watching Family Finance Friday with DJ the Money Coach and Nick Westbrooks. We're going to go take a quick break. We're going to come back up and wrap this thing up, and we're going to let you get back to your beautiful Friday night, and we're going to hope that you enjoy your amazing June, because June is only the month, baby, for Flag Day, for Father's Day, and summer. Everything else is irrelevant. And I say that to you unapologetically. So Nick, take us to the break and we'll be right back. All right, all right. Welcome back. You're watching Family Finance Friday with DJ the Money Coach and Nick Westbrooks. You know, like I said, like, share, and subscribe. We are always happy to bring you authentic programming. And I would like to call ourselves the anti-programmers because everybody on these platforms are generally talking about what's going on in pop culture, which is normally negative stuff. And that's where they get the clicks and the likes and all of that. We're not about that business, ladies and gentlemen. Not at all. Not one iota. Because you probably expect that I was going to talk about what happened with, the former president, all that. Guess what? You can go get that on the news, on those other platforms. Let's talk about stuff that's really important in your household. Because guess what? That stuff that's happening there is a distraction to keep you off point in your house. Think about it. One of the things that I tell people about when it comes to giving them an analyzation of their finances is that the first and foremost thing you ought to do is treat your business, your family, like a business. The second thing you ought to do is to mind your own business. And how can you do that if you are constantly getting on this sensationalization of, media that's geared to get you focused on stuff that has nothing to do with you personally? You're going to vote the way you vote, and you don't need to be wasting your time with that because it's all edutainment. Like KRS-One used to say, Boogie Down Productions. If you're not smart enough to realize that, then that's on you. But the real quality programs, they talk about stuff that's really important to your house. It's called Family Finance Friday. It's not called, TMZ. It's not called pop culture. You can get that somewhere else. Here, we're going to talk about the things that are the nucleus of American society that's right versus the crap that's wrong. And they'll get millions of views and everything. Hey, man, muy bueno to them. But for us, we're going to be about this business. And if you're about that business and you want quality programming that's not caught up in, hey, man, did you hear it? Blah, blah, blah. You know what God says about that? Loose lips sink ships. Gossip is nothing good in it. And that's all you say. And the unfortunate part about it, reputable programs have doubled down on that. Another thing that's gone out of control in our society pertaining to finances is gambling. Everything is legalized. And what they don't ever show you is the dirty data on the people whose houses and families are ruined by gambling. That is the number one driver of sports now. People will literally bet, how long is DJ going to be on his show this week? You can bet on all kind of stuff. But you got to be more concerned about your health, your mental health, and your family unit, because the name on the back of the jersey is yours. And this is what my grandfather, my father told me, and we'll wrap up with this. If you lose some money, you lost nothing. If you lose a friend, you've lost something. But if you lose that name on the back of the jersey that took me generation to build, you lost everything. And in today's world, people are selling out their names for peanuts. And unfortunately, we're doing it more so in our community because we're lab rats and we're not wise enough to stand up. And you have to be able to stand up like the rhino and run headstrong into the negative opposition because you know it's wrong. There's a passage in the Bible, I'm going to paraphrase. It said, there will come a time when good is bad and bad is good. This is the time. So we're going to bring you quality programming based on purpose, based on a plan, and it's going to be productive. And one of the things we always tell our team, we take productivity over activity. And we like quality over quantity. And here's what we know. When we double down on those principles and we incorporate the 4x4, you're winning because we're on the, climb to significance. Some of you are in the struggle phase of your life. Some of you are successful, but you want legacy, you have to create significance. And that's where we are. We're driving and thriving in significance. And thank goodness God gave us a wake-up call again. So let us all count our blessings, thank for grace, be humble in the mercy that's bestowed upon us, and let us extend grace and gratitude to our fellow woman and man. And let's not judge, lest thee be judged as well. And if this is what you like, hey, spread the word and let those other programs spread the gospel of gossiping, because that's all they're doing. And I would have never thought that, just to leave you this, your president is going to be having a ceremony with a bunch of entertainers to celebrate your new holiday. Think about that. Just came out with the list. Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, and that holiday is nothing to do with entertainment. That's just like the holiday that just passed that people really didn't know what it was about. They get it confused with Veterans Day. Memorial Day was the honor of the people who fallen and gave their lives for our freedom. It was not go out and barbecue day. And that was created by us to celebrate those soldiers who gave their lives literally in the Civil War to give them slaves their freedom and to maintain it. But here it is. You even had a government official, 2 of them, Cory Bush or Booker and Oman, whatever her name is, who ain't even an American, talking about, oh, let's go out and celebrate. Didn't even know what the real origin of the holiday was. There's a saying, there's a multitude of intellectual idiots on this planet. Emphasis on intellectual. And you should not be a Lemmy and jumping off the cliff with them. So I knew what Memorial Day was, and there's no way I could ever get it confused with Veterans Day. Veterans Day is the celebration of the veterans who have served that are still here with us. Memorial Day, look up the definition. But if you're not turning this thing off and getting yourself into the word and getting yourself around counsel and being about purpose with a plan, you cannot be productive in life. And we're going to get back to that. We're going to always do Family Finance Friday. We're going to always talk about Zanzibar, but we're going to double down on the stuff that's most important right now across the board for America. You know what I'm saying? So we should never have a problem living together if we have the same principles that we share. And we should be so intent on standing up for America that we should never let anybody talk about, I'm a hyphen this. Hey, guess what? You came here for freedom, and that freedom was afforded to you by the blood of our fathers, literally. So how about you put some respect on that? But how do you put respect on it if you don't respect yourself? And I'll leave with this, Nick. So I had last week, young guy trying to get my business for landscaping. And he had cut my grass about 2 times about 8 weeks ago. And then he got injured. Likeable guy. Yes, sir. No, sir. Mr. D, blah, 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 blah. Hey, I want to get and do my own business. I said, man, I like this kid's attitude. So he's cutting my grass, right? So he makes some mistakes. So I said, hey, man, Nick, it's funny. His name is Nicholas. So I said, Nick, I said, hey, man, I said, you want to start your own business and you already working for your uncle doing similar thing. I said, let me show you some points that you missed. I said, because here's the important thing is that I want my outside to look better when you left and not worse. What do I mean by that, Nick? Well, here's what happened. He cut the grass well, but he didn't pick up the debris. He blew it off to the side, but it's all in front of my driveway. And I said, hey, you're going to pick this up, right? And then I said, here's the thing you'll learn, Nick, is that if the grass was already wild and stuff, I didn't notice how wild it was. I just knew it needed to be cut. But when you start cutting it and making mistakes, it magnified the bad parts. So we went back in the backyard and he had not lined it with the weed whacker and cleaned that all up. Then I had him to get some mulch and everything. We did that up, man, tapped it out. And I explained to him, hey, you should get a list and square it up with, make sure it's good. And guess what? You're going to be paid what you're worth. So he comes back, does it the second time, does a better job. He gets hurt. So he comes back and calls me. So he comes out with a helper. So before he came, he hit me up. Hey, Mr. D, I want to cut your grass again. And I got a helper. I'm going to need to charge you a little bit more. Is that okay with you? I said, well, you know what? I'll do it this one time, but I need to make sure you're going to do a great job. Right. So, of course, so he comes up on Sunday. He arrives on time. And I got to go do something with the fam, because the graduation weekend and celebration. So I'm looking at him cutting and stuff, and he's cutting the backyard. And then so I see them same little things show up. A little bit of debris, didn't whack down some stuff around the tree. So I hit him up and told him, hey, man, make sure to take care. And then here's what I did. I said, you know what? I'm going to trust, because he's nice, that he's going to take care of it. So I pay him in full, Nick. I leave off, ladies and gentlemen. I come back 4 hours later, and guess what? The garbage is worse in front of my driveway. He didn't cut this stuff. So I call him up. I say, hey, man. I said, did you clean up the debris? Did you blow it up? Oh, yeah, Mr. D, yeah. I said, I don't think so. He said, oh, and then I could hear the helper. Oh, yeah, we did that. I said, okay. So I pull out my phone. I shoot a video. I send it to him, Nick. Immediately. Guess what he did? Guess what he said immediately?
Say, man.
What do we do in this today's society as young people?
Oh, oh, what made he made an excuse?
Made an excuse, and then he doubled down. Said, "Oh, I'll make sure it's done next time I come out and cut your grass." I said, "Guess what?
There's not going
Won't
to be a next time.
won't be a next time." So I said, "You know what? If he didn't do this in front of my house, because he cut my grass and my neighbor's grass, because I recommend him to my neighbor,
Mhm.
I look over the neighbor, same thing, all the debris in front of our driveway. I go in my backyard. Now I'm saying, oh, this kid is rushing. So now I see lines in the back of my. Now I had just cut my grass myself 2 weeks prior, tightened it up. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I gave him video of what I want my yard to look like. I gave him pictures and went through this twice with him before to give him benefit of doubt. And my yard looked worse than before he cut it. Oh, I'll get it next time for you. And it's just every excuse. I say, hey man, guess what? There's no way you're going to be in business. There's no way. It's not going to happen. I said, now here's what you can do. He's about 20 minutes away from my house. And here's where this is where the bet on black is important, because he's 26 years of age. I said, here's what I would do if I were you trying to grow a business. I would come back no matter what the cost is to me, and I would clean up the job so that I can have another chance to get your business. Oh, I can't do that, Mr. D. I said, exactly. And this is the reason why, guess what? You're not only not going to cut my grass, but you're not going to cut the neighbor's grass. So I go over to the neighbor. The neighbor says, oh man, he's just a kid. He immediately makes an excuse for him. Now he charged us 10% more, but he immediately gave him an excuse. Just like that. Now, if he would have been part of that group with business owners and say, hey man, even though you're struggling, even though you need to make more money, long-term it's better for you to overserve and have a good name in the marketplace, because guess what? You're not the first person that's broke at your age, and you won't be the last. But guess what? I happen to be an actual example of that, because I lived that life, but know what I didn't do? I didn't half bake doing the job. That's why that's important, ladies and gentlemen. So imagine I don't give that example to my children, and I immediately turn that into a lesson for my son. I sent him the video. I said, guess what? This guy's 26. You're 17. Guess what he did not get when he was 17? He didn't get correction in course from his dad, even though he was very nice. And see, this is another thing in society, ladies and gentlemen. People get away with being nice and doing wrong. I'm going to say that again. They shadow the wrong purposely with nice pleasantries. And this is the best one I could tell you as a great example. You ever been to a restaurant and they keep messing up and they say, oh, I'm sorry about that, sir. And they keep messing up. You ever had that experience? And if you didn't get incensed because because what does that do? That diffuses you. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Westbrooks. We'll get it and come right back and do the same darn thing. Oh, Mr. Westbrooks, please forgive us. Because that'll diffuse you. Be like, oh man, there's no way I can yell at this person when they're being nice and saying I'm sorry, but they doubling down on doing wrong. And guess what? When you know that's a character flaw, because this person has a talent to have charisma and be an authentic acting, you have to be able to correct them. And a lot of times it takes somebody at a higher level that they will respect that can tell them, hey, I know what you're doing, cut it out. Does that sound familiar, ladies and gentlemen? And guess what? Man, one last message before we go. And y'all can look this one up. This is the epitome. Grown-ass man. This man, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure it's gone viral. This man had to be about in his mid-40s. He's driving down the street. he gets a call from a Zoom link. He hops on the Zoom link, Nick, and unfortunately, it's a black man. It's the courthouse with the judge and his defender. This dude, ladies and gentlemen, is driving on a suspended license and has a court date for his suspended license. And he's just like, oh, hold on. And the judge is a black judge, a man. He said,
"Yep, I saw that one.
You saw that one, right?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
Is this indicative of what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So let me finish. So the judge is like, "Are you driving?" "Oh yeah. I'm heading to a dental appointment. Just let me pull over." And they're putting down there the court case. His license is suspended, and he's on bond to get his license from driving on a suspended license. So he pull over, and the judge like, he does know that he doesn't have a license, and the session is for him not having a license. And the public defender's like, "Yes, Your Honor. Yes, that is him, Your Honor." And the dude just calm, cool, collective, like ain't nothing going on. He parked. "Oh yeah." And the judge says, "You're driving on a suspended license, and that's what this court session is for. So your bond is revoked, and you need to turn yourself in by 6 p.m. or you're going to get a warrant without no bond available, a bench warrant, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble." And the dude, this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. The dude sits up there like, "Oh my God, why me? Grown ass man driving." But you know why he did that? Because when he was 26, like our namesake, nobody corrected him on that little shit. When he was 17, like my son, and instead of letting my son say, "Yeah, we're going to give you the car and drive downtown and increase the risk for everybody," nobody stepped in because they didn't want to be the bad parent. But here this clown is driving, the audacity to take the call. So now we have a movie being made about George Floyd. And I'm just going to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. So if you don't think that Bet on Black, 4 generations of men, high quality, high character. Let me take the quality out. High principle character, flawed, but character men are not important in today's society. And you don't think that 4 generations of high character, principle women having a conversation about real life is not important. If you don't think that conversations about children and teaching them about finances right now is not important, and if you don't think that having expert interviews with successful entrepreneurs telling you about things that they did wrong and how they overcame it is not important, and then if you don't think that having conversations about Nick's knowledge and notions about history, it'll repeat itself, then you no need to subscribe to this channel here. But if you find those things to be important and you don't want to be like this idiot, he lucky that judge didn't slap more than that on him. We've seen brothers get put away for life for less than that. So we want to thank you for watching Family Finance Friday, May 31st, 2024, with Nick Westbrooks and yours truly, DJ the Money Coach. And tell us what shows you would like to see, what topics you would like to hear about, what people you would like me to interview, and we're going to bring it to you. And we're going to keep it real, authentic, purpose, plan, and productive. And we're going to back it up with the 4x4. That's discipline, accountability, plug into a proven system, go to work, and then we're going to bring it back, teaching professionalism, because that guy driving that car didn't understand that. Persistence, perseverance, and performance, and no victimhood on these streets and no pop culture. So have a wonderful rest of your evening and get ready for an exciting June to celebrate Flag Day, Father's Day for real men, raising real men and being the protectors, the providers, and the pastors of real American society across the board, because that's what we're talking about. So we wish you a pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money and peace of mind. Come join us on the Beaches of the World Club. And today's beach is getting back to purpose with a plan and productive to stand up, to be real for what America is really about. God bless you.
Some of the best things that I like about Zanzibar was being on the land, seeing the emerald water.
Got to see the island, connect with the people, do exclusive luxury experiences that you'll only get on the island of Zanzibar.
The beach, fresh food, the people. I mean, I could write a short book about what I experienced here.
Eating the best fruit, vegetables, seafood.
Met some amazing people. We had an amazing time.
I like the tours that we went on, the Spice Island, and the Paradise Island.
The snorkeling. That was an exclusive experience. Huge sandbar. That was set up like our private dining area. The sand is soft, the water is warm.
Unadulterated, pure, simple, Zanzibar.
So the opportunity in Zanzibar is very, 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 very clear. There is nothing but economical growth and development happening right now.
Zanzibar, just because it's an up and coming area.
You get here and you see the opportunity.
And then you come on the African side, you get to see even a different type of togetherness.
Being able to ask questions, and DJ was just like, hey, ask me anything.
Plenty of money and peace of mind. Zanzibar all day.